So
here we are again.
Here we are again, episode 5.
Yes, or maybe 4 if they're out of order. You know,
we'll call it 5.
Yeah, we'll call it 5.
Who knows anymore?
It's only supposed to be 106 degrees today.
It's only supposed to be 106 degrees today.
From like rainy and 55 to 106.
Yeah, it's about a 9-day window.
Middle of Palm Springs.
Yeah. So, and by the way, it's still April as far as the month goes.
It is still April for a little while.
Yeah, it's 106.
It's 106. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, good. It could have been the second week of Coachella when people have been roasted.
This would have been
No, it would have been done by now.
We're working on Stagecoach. This would be Stagecoach.
Be a lot of fried country fans.
Yes,
Country fried.
Country fried.
So,
we didn't get a lot of the wind though.
No,
a lot of times Coachella gets rammed with the wind.
Didn't get a lot of the wind. We got a lot of the wind last year.
Yeah, so it would have been beautiful.
Yeah.
The beard's getting a little longer, you know. You can't.
The beard's growing in.
Yeah, you can't. You can't go get your hair cut in this world.
Sure.
So.
But you know what you can do?
What?
Make drinks.
Yes, you can.
So we're talking about the Mojito today. How do you feel about the Mojito?
I think it is a great drink that is made wrong virtually all the time.
I agree. I think there's a couple ways to make it. We're going to do a couple of different ways, but it's the drink that every bartender hates to make, and there's no reason for that if you make it the easy way. If you make it the hard way, obviously it's a little bit more difficult.
The reason why I honestly dislike it, it's not the flavor, it's not that it's a little bit of time. Big deal. You make drinks that take time all the time. It's that the mint never leaves your bar.
Yeah.
So
once the mint's on
you try to clean it, it gets on a glass, it sticks.
It's like cream. After you make one White Russian.
Right. You have to stop everything.
Yeah.
Do 100% clean up, and then maybe you can start.
And then maybe you can start back up again.
Yeah, so that's my actual dislike.
We make a pretty easy version at the bar where I work, but definitely I'm going to show some video on how to make the classic Cuban style one as well. We're not going to do that during this.
Yeah.
This
is going to be like the bartender's mojito.
Bartender's mojito, yeah.
And it's simple, but it gets you everything you need.
Yeah.
You get the oil off the mint, which is, by the way, all you want.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the aromatic, but the oil is what's giving the flavor in the drink itself.
And speaking of being simple and having everything you need, I'm Kevin.
I'm Neil.
And this is Two Board Bartenders.
So have a drink with us.
Please have a drink with us, absolutely. So we're going to start today. This is the bartender kind of easy version. I'm just going to assemble that up, and then I'll take that too.
Boom.
And all right, let's get this guy. You're going to shake. So what we're going to start out with is I got some nice fresh mint here, and the key is to not have all the mint fall out. So we got a couple of leaves. These are right off of my quarantine patio garden.
Right, this is right off the patio.
You don't find mint looking like this in the store.
They could not be fresher. I mean, look at this stuff.
It's
honestly, look at that.
It's gorgeous. So we get that. Save a nice piece for garnish.
And again, a few, obviously it depends on the size of the leaf and whatever, but between, 4 and 8 is about the right, the right number of your leaves that you want in there.
We're going to add a little simple syrup. Add a good amount of fresh squeezed lime juice.
We did not grow these limes.
We did not grow the limes.
Mint, yes.
And then this is not Cuban rum. We're going to talk about rum a little bit. This is not the rum that you want to use, hence the bottle. But this is the best we can find in Palm Springs during these troubled
times.
Unprecedented times. Some rum.
Kind of surprised that there's not a lot of good rum available to the public.
Yeah. Good white rum. Like
good white rum.
Or just flavorful, clear rums.
Yeah. There's a handful of just clear white rums that are absolutely amazing. But for some reason, none of them are out there right now. None of them.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is just do what we call like a short shake. Just a couple of cubes in here. Not enough to brutalize the mint. Just enough to I'll let you.
Oh, okay. I'll shake.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so just not like you're shaking like an egg white drink, or you're even a margarita.
More like
this is much
like a Polaroid picture.
Yeah, this is just much simpler, light. All you're doing is just giving a little bit of life to that.
Get the oils in there. Get everything beaten up a little bit. Add some effervescence.
Yeah, you just don't want that much.
And there you go. That's how you make a very fast bartender style mojito. We're going to top that off with some ice.
A little bit of ice.
We still don't have an ice scoop, so this is going to have to work.
the hands are, I do wash them somewhat regularly, but being in quarantine, I wash them a lot.
And we're doing this one at a time, this is like when somebody pays with pennies.
And then gonna top it with just a little close up,
and we'll want to give that a little bit of a stir,
just to balance it out because you want to make sure that goes all the way through.
And then we want to give it the old,
give it a nice
the old
mint
slap.
treatment.
The old slap it a mint. It's kind of like slapping a base.
And this right here, you have no idea how much that does for the drink.
Wipe it around. A lot of these are aromatics. The one thing I really hate is when you hand somebody a drink and you put this beautiful garnish on there for them, and they're supposed to smell it. They're supposed to pick it up.
Yeah.
And let's.
But if the mint's been sitting there, it has no. It's there's nothing going on.
There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
And what doesn't work is when you hand somebody this garnish and they pick up their straw and they just start going psycho Alfred Hitchcock on it here, and they're smashing it into their drink. They're not bringing anything to the drink. They're just creating sludge.
Yeah, and
chlorophyll
breaking everything out of there. And so that's like one thing. When you see that, especially when it's like, what flavor mojitos do you have? Well, mojito, this is a flavor. This is the drink.
It's clean, simple, and elegant. Yeah.
Now, when you start doing, strawberries and raspberries and kumquats and everything else, and you see that thing where they'll grab a bunch of mint that's already been pulled, and they just throw it in there with 2 or 3 pieces of fruit and just go to town. And it's schmutzy. Yeah. It gets into your teeth. It's not a mojito.
If you want to make, I'm always under the impression that if you want to make a fresh fruit drink, like a raspberry or peach or something like that, make a simple syrup with it. It's so easy to do. Smash the berries into some sugar. Make a simple syrup.
Yeah.
We talk about that a bit in the margarita episode.
Yeah.
But I don't want 17 blackberries smashed in the bottom of my drink. Sure, does it look great? It looks cool. It looks rustic, I guess, and it's everybody goes, "Ooh, look at that." But that's not what I want.
But you don't getting the proper flavor.
Yeah. Well, speaking of flavor, cheers. We should have straws, but we don't have straws.
Yes.
We're proper good Californians, and we didn't buy any.
So. Really is
refreshing.
The water. Oh, we switched to mountains.
We switched. Now we're
switched to mountains.
Now we're in the mountains. But.
So, on the lines of rum, obviously rum, very similar to other stuff we talk about, the tequila, whiskey, etc. White, unaged, in the simplest of terms. Then you got your gold rums, which are your flavor and color added rum. So just white rum with caramel coloring and stuff like that. You don't want to touch any of those. But then you got great aged rums. You got great dark rums. You got great, I hate to even say it, spice rums. There's some really good spice rums out there. The ones that have got more flavor. I'm not talking the sweet, sugary stuff. But there's some really good spice rums out there. And of course, what we would have made this drink with, if we could have found it, is a really nice white overproof rum.
A funky Jamaican.
Which
would have been a little closer to what the Cubans would have used.
Yeah.
And a white rum can still be aged. It just doesn't have that aged look to it. They'll filter it through some
charcoal. They'll filter through charcoal and take all the color.
Right.
Similar to like with tequila and everything. That's the new
might have a little
tequila.
aging on it. 2 or 3 years, something like that.
But rum doesn't have near as many rules, if you will, as most.
It's pirate juice.
Exactly. So you'll see rums, which will say, and I don't want to call them out by name, but you'll see rum, it'll be the name like 23. It's very deceptive. That's not a 23-year-old rum. Now, if it says, 4-year aged, or but they don't have the rules and regulations.
You're speaking of like the Solera method,
yes,
where something will say 23 years,
tastes.
But it goes through 23 barrels. The oldest being 23 years,
right? And it's not aged for 20 years.
You need a PhD in statistical analysis to understand how much of your rum is actually 23 years old.
It's not much of it. That doesn't mean it's not good.
Oh, I love Solera.
You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it, but a little deceptive in advertising, if you will.
Sure.
But, just great. Most of your rums come from more tropical climates, i.e., Cuba, Jamaican rum, Trinidad, stuff around those
British colonies, Spanish colonies, French colonies,
Mexico,
all of their
Barbados.
Sure.
And they're all vast.
Back in the day, Boston made
Vastly.
some terrible rums. So my hometown was the home of terrible rum. We're making some halfway decent rums there now.
But by the way, there's a lot of American distilleries, as they're ramping up a lot of the new ones. They will go for a rum as usually their second or third. They always start with vodka. It's a nice base. They always start with vodka. Every distillery starts with vodka.
And they move on to...
And they'll either go to gin, usually, or sometimes they go right to a rum if they're not gin fans, if you will. But always vodka, 99% gin, and then a rum, because the whiskey is going to take how long?
You have to release your white whiskey and try to convince somebody to drink that shit.
But, again, nothing wrong with white rum, and nothing wrong with a mojito, especially on a nice 106-degree day.
We should open up the windows in here.
You want a little more, get a little more light? Let me jump back in the scene here. I don't know if that mattered, but... So
the history of the mojito, just like all of these simple drinks that go back 100 years, there's always a little bit of clouded history. Probably similar roots to the daiquiri. Somebody wanted to drink some rum. They had some ice or some water. They had some lime. They had some sugar. And, you get your daiquiri. Well, you throw some mint in there. Now you have your mojito. So it's probably something along those lines. I'm sure a bunch of people made this drink all over the Caribbean at some point. But Cuba's where it became famous. A lot of people think it might come from like the word mojar, or like to make something wet, or or mojo.
Yeah,
which could be like a spell, or put your mojo on you.
Yeah.
Either one of those sounds pretty cool to me. I'm all right with it. The
I'll
mojo
accept
sounds
either.
more fun.
I like the mojo.
Mojo sounds more fun, but it's probably more like wet your whistle.
Yeah,
is more what I would probably do. But they were making it in all sorts of seaside towns. It was popular around Havana, and a lot of Americans that couldn't drink during Prohibition were coming to Cuba, and they were drinking some of the best drinks ever created, and this would have been one of them. And this was, they know for sure, it was at Sloppy Joe's Bar in the early 1930s. And when Sloppy Joe's Bar got destroyed in the Revolution, we no longer have like an extant, lineage from there. But we know it was made there, and people loved it, and it was made all over the country.